Good morning, Rancheroos. This is JVB, and it's time for the RanchCast. So it is, Tuesday, August 11th? Hopefully I'm actually broadcasting sound. Let me double check this because I don't hear anything on my other machine. I should be hearing myself. I hear nothing. I see audio. Alright, let's check one more source and see if I get some audio. Every time. There we go. I am here. Alright. So, you can hear me. That's good. For whatever reason, I just can't hear myself this morning, and that's okay. So, today we're going to talk about K3s. We've been talking about K3s in a while, so we're going to revisit that. I'll do the starting things I normally do. So let me get my coffee first. I was dealing with the fun that was my audio setup this morning just not working. So, first and foremost, let me actually mute the AC. I forgot to do this morning, so the AC just kicked on as I'm talking. And we're going to turn this off for now. Live streaming. So professional. All right. So as usual, if you'd like to join the conversation today, you can join us at slack.rancher.io. Join the RanchCast channel, and then you'll find us all here in the RanchCast channel in the Ranch Users workspace. I have this on most of the time, so if you have any questions, if you're watching this video later, by all means, check it out. And as always, the archives for this will be on YouTube at youtube.com/c/theranchcast. Wow, what a flattering picture of me. I need a haircut. All right, so let's get started with, and let's talk about what we're going to do for the next several weeks. So we're going to talk about K3s for the next several weeks. This is basically for a couple of reasons. One, Rancher has decided to go through the process of seeing if the CNCF will take on K3s as a sandbox project. This was really interesting to me. I've been using K3s underneath of K3D that we talked about during the last episode. So I want to do a deeper dive into K3s from the developer standpoint, from the practitioner standpoint of working with Kubernetes, because it is a little bit different animal. So if you'd like to get K3s or learn more about it, start with K3s.io, because that's where we're going to start today. Now this will be a short episode. We're going to do a very short install of K3s using the automation here. We're going to browse around and see what's available to us as far as documentation goes and help, and we'll talk about where we're going next. So this episode is largely about just getting K3s, where it's appropriate, as far as what kind of software you're developing, and then next steps, and where we're going to go from here. And really that's just because I just got off a vacation and didn't have enough time to really deep dive and prep the way I wanted to for this episode. And it's been long enough since I've used K3s deep dive from a practitioner standpoint that I'm just not as comfortable with shooting from the hip. And I want to make sure that I'm on top of everything that's new and accurate with K3s. So really, it is great for Edge and IoT and ARM devices. It really is great for just being Kubernetes as a whole. So K3s is a fully CNCF compliant distribution of Kubernetes. It's not a fork of Kubernetes. It just is a different distribution. We've talked about different distributions. Like we talked about K3D last time, which was quite literally K3s inside of Docker, which is very similar to the Kind project. So Kind, we have talked about Kubernetes Kind before, but let's get some links. So Kind is a project within Kubernetes itself that is really used for testing Kubernetes within Docker. It's a nice quick spin up. So K3D was similar to that. There's also Minikube. So these are other distributions of Kubernetes that are managed by CNCF. So Minikube is about running Kubernetes locally. So this is Kubernetes inside of a virtual machine running on your machine, whether that's the Windows versions kind of bootstrapped by PowerShell or one of the other versions that's out there. So these are kind of these are different distributions of Kubernetes that are currently managed by Kubernetes. These are really aimed at developers and testers. K3s is a certified Kubernetes distribution that is designed for IoT and edge, but really can be used anywhere. We actually have, it's not we, but I know Rancher Labs has a number of customers that are looking to use K3s in production in lieu of Kubernetes because of its smaller footprint and being able to use other databases other than etcd. So that's and I think that's one of the more important distinctions about K3s versus Kubernetes out of the box. And we get the what is K3? What is the K3s or K3s? I've heard it pronounced both K3s and K3s. I think K3s is the preferred pronunciation from Darren, who actually started the project. So I'll go with K3s. You'll hear me say K3s because it's just muscle memory. Is there anything about the 3 itself? No, just 3 is smaller than 8. That really is it. It looks nice, and it's substantially smaller. Now, in the early days of K3s, there was a lot of code removed from Kubernetes to make K3s do what it does so well. Kubernetes itself has slimmed down quite a bit. We've learned more about the process for building K3s. So it's only a couple hundred lines of code difference between K3s and upstream vanilla Kubernetes. And let's talk about how it works. So K3s has an agent and a server. There are tunnel proxies, and a lot of this, calling out from the agent to the server. And this design really is to make it very, very easy for K3s to run in a constrained environment, and to ease the connections between essentially your control plane nodes and your worker nodes. So in this case, K3s has servers and agents, and there's this tunnel proxy that does a lot of magic to, it's not really magic, but it's magic for somebody who doesn't want to deep dive into networking this morning and hasn't finished their coffee yet, to connect the agents to the servers. And probably we'll dive into that as we're getting into K3s more, and we understand that. So what do I mean when I say it's a CNCF certified distribution? So there's actually a process for that. And where is it? Software conformance. This is the one we want. So when we say it's certified, it means it passes the automated tests that CNCF says it needs to pass to be certified Kubernetes, and that it's consistent, it's updated timely, and it can be confirmed via Sonoboy, a really awesome piece of software that was built initially by Heptio. Back before their acquisition by VMware. Heptio did a lot of really awesome things prior to their acquisition by VMware, and those who have continued into VMware from Heptio are also still building awesome things. I've got good friends over there. Love the things they're coming up with, so shout out to them. And let's see, is K3s on this list? It should be. Yep, there it is. Oh, it's the old school logo. I love the old school logo. I know the new school logo. It's a lot more, it's consistent with the branding that, they redid. But this is so much, it's the Minecraft in me. The Minecraft in me loves this. But yeah, just to know, when we say certified Kubernetes distribution, that's what we're talking about. So there is currently an effort for Rancher Labs to donate K3s to the CNCF. That's being discussed by the Technical Oversight Committee. If you'd like to see that conversation, let's see, that is the CNCF TOC mailing list. And actually, I'll link to this in the description. If we go to the messages, there's a vote here for K3s and Sandbox. If you want to see the discussion around K3s, and specifically the GitHub around the application, I'll include those 2 links so you can go through and look at that. We'd really like to see that happen. But again, this is we'd like to see K3s develop within the community. I keep doing this. Is the problem. I was with Rancher Labs for 2.5 years. Go to Rancher Federal, and we're not a we. We do work. We do work on some things, and we do feedback some things. But I've got so many good friends over there. It feels like we. But so I'll say that a bunch. But yeah, so if you want to see how that's going towards the sandbox process, that is a work in progress, and that's going to influence the direction of K3s, falling under the oversight of the CNCF, much like Longhorn already has. So, those of you who have looked into Longhorn used to be a Rancher Labs project and is now a CNCF project. So we're looking to do the same thing with K3s. GitHub, and the GitHub for this also changed to its own block storage. We'll do a RanchCast on Longhorn at some point. I love Longhorn. Longhorn really is awesome. But today we are talking about K3s and what it is, how it's used. Again, it's not a fork of Kubernetes. It's just another distribution. And the big difference being, the architecture is simplified significantly. Now you see Container D here. One of the differences between RKE and K3s is one, Docker. So Container D is the default runtime for K3s. Docker can be used as well. And there's also some really cool features around image management and packaging applications in with your operating system, because we're looking to do IoT and edge a lot of the time. Like I said, it's not a requirement. And also, the big thing with code that has been pulled out is a lot of the in-tree storage drivers, the in-tree cloud drivers. By in-tree, I mean in the Kubernetes source code. So, for example, that would affect what's called the Cloud Controller Manager. So we're going to go look at the Cloud Controller Manager in Kubernetes, and a lot of what is separated between upstream Kubernetes and K3s is just the amount of code we're packaging in as far as cloud manager functions that allow this to happen, because there's a bunch of this code here, this Cloud Controller Manager Cloud. There's a bunch of code there that is specific to cloud providers that just doesn't need to be on an IoT edge device. That's not to say you couldn't use K3s with a cloud provider. It just means there is an additional process to add in some of the things that have been taken out of Kubernetes to make K3s back in. So, for example, if you wanted to use EC2 as your cloud with K3s, that's actually a very doable thing. One of the field engineers over at Rancher Labs actually recently had to do that because we had a conversation about it specific to EC2. And there is documentation out there. I'm not sure if that's made it out to the Rancher Labs docs because I'm not living there every day anymore, but that'd be interesting. I might have to hit him up. So that's big thing. That's the big thing. The other thing is there's a shim, and let's see, that is kind is not etcd. So this sub project, Rancher Kind, is what allows K3s to use things other than etcd for the database. So you can use MySQL, Postgres, SQLite, well, and etcd. Really not etcd. But Kind itself is not etcd. It isn't just for K3s. It was designed to be used for any Kubernetes distribution, so it can talk to databases other than etcd. So a more modular design, and it's simply a translation layer in between Kubernetes, in our case K3s, and the database, which that allows operations teams that don't have a deep background into etcd or don't want to manage etcd to use a database they may be more familiar with, like a Postgres or MySQL. It's also a modular enough design that if you want to be crazy and add SQL Server or Oracle, you could go do that. I'm going to check chat real quick to see if we have any questions coming up. Nothing so far. And really, I think it's just a 9 a.m. Eastern thing, but it's where I have the time right now. All right. So next steps, installing Kubernetes. So we'll do the quick install today, and we'll talk about where we're going next. Do I have my prop here? I don't have my prop here. I was going to have a prop here, and I don't have my prop this morning. So let's open our terminal up. Yay, everything's working. And let's go ahead and install K3s. And we're gonna do it the cheater way. But we're doing the cheater way today. We'll do more complicated ways later. Ew, that's nasty. What did I do wrong? Cannot find system to use as process for. Oh. Well, that's no good. We might be stopped at our tracks here. I haven't run through K3s on this specific machine recently. See, I even have it. I've installed K3s on this machine. I know I have. I've done it numerous times. Oh. Tibber. I have to figure out how to turn off YouTube chat. So, I will respond to any of the chats that come through, maybe in the comments for the video. So, is there a list of cloud providers that are built into K3s? There are none. Great question. You know what? Let's go ahead and open up that YouTube event so I have that in the background as well. Good question. Actually, that's a really good question. All right, there's a chat. There we go. All right, so I'm going to keep that chat open and this chat open. You all can't see this. This is on my other screen. So, yeah. So, thank you, Tibber, for raising it to my attention. I'm going to make sure in the future I have that chat open as well because I'm hoping that is there. So, yeah. So, the question was, you know, is there a list of cloud providers is there a list of what cloud providers are still built into K3s, or are there no cloud providers at all? None. Zero. Zilch. That's really the difference in K3s out of the box versus Kubernetes out of the box. It's just the removal of anything in tree that doesn't need to be there for IoT Edge, because this is really great for resource-constrained environments. That was the original goal of K3s. We only figured out later that the community liked it to be their base Kubernetes distribution as well, so we've started figuring out, okay, how do we add things back in from a support scenario to help out users that want to use K3s, and like that model, but also want the cloud providers in. So, like I said, I will look at, if there are links to that docs now, I'll add them in the description. I don't think they're in our docs. I do know that Rancher Labs is working with clients that are doing that because I've had conversations with some of the field engineers over there, and the professional services engineers over there who I used to work with around just that. So we had talked about that method recently. So let's go ahead and do the quick and dirty install. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. If not, we just may move on to our next wave of install. And I don't have K3s, right? No, I don't. All right. Cannot find system to openers. Something is wrong. Process. Okay, so this is probably a Windows terminal thing or a Ubuntu in Linux. Oh, I see what the problem is now. I have a terminal window, but I have no Docker runtime. It's weird that it's like half working. So I should have Docker down here, and I have no Docker down here. But when Docker doesn't work, this shouldn't work either. We're going to restart Docker and see what happens. Yeah, there's my icon. Wow. So I have a... we're not going to install live updates into the live stream. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. You know how I know that? I've done that. All right. That should be better now. At least I hope that's better now. Fingers crossed. Oh yeah, I gotta restart the terminal. I am not a smart man. Well, let's see if we can get catch-up working. I'm curious as to why this has suddenly failed. I've used this method before on this machine quite recently. So that'll be one of those things I look into. All right, so I'm just, yeah, there's nothing wrong there. I don't need that. That's my test. Okay, here we go. So this is my RanchCast notes section. And I think 35 was the last episode I did, wasn't it? Yep. Developer workflows back in July before my vacation. So vacation was awesome. Did socially distanced beach visits, and not even the tropical storm could keep us down. Actually, the tropical storm was better for the coast than it was just west of the coast. My parents were just west of the coast. Ended up in a tornado warning and had the tornado jump over their neighborhood. So it hit trees on one side and hit trees on the other side and hit no houses, which is a good thing because not everybody was so fortunate. All right, so 36. And then this is installing K3s. Or is it just install K3s? Let's look at YouTube. YouTube would know because that's where I started the video. Let's see. I've got everything shrunk down. I think it's installing. If it's not installing, I'll fix it later. It's not that important. All right, so installing K3s. Like I said, we always keep live notes to see why I failed so miserably, and maybe we'll actually start rehashing those in future episodes. I love the idea of learning from my mistakes. All right, so RanchCast. This will be installing K3s, and the air date is I have to change an air date on a past episode because I just copy and pasted a bad. Let's just do that now because March 20. Oh, that's interesting. There we go. That's better. So all of the past episodes and show notes are available in GitHub. I'll actually show that off. And it's 11 August, right? Yes, it's 11 August 2020. And we'll fix that later. I'm host. And we'll install some K3D. Install some K3s and fail miserably. So show notes. It's actually going to be this file. Actually, this will be the show notes. So, action. Why did the K3s install fail miserably in WSL2 plus Ubuntu? And again, we're not going to install right now. So that's actually pretty interesting. I've never actually run into this problem before, and that's part of the fun. So let's go ahead and see if we get Ketchup working. If Ketchup doesn't work, I'm going to pause. We'll stop here for the day and go from there. So Ketchup. K3s up, pronounced Ketchup, is a bootstrap for working with K3s over SSH. Oh, that's going to be a problem. I forgot it's over SSH. I've had to use virtual machines for this before. No, I've done this in here too. All right, let's at least do an install and give it a try. So, Tibber, because you're doing it with people watching, of course. Hey, it's one of the reasons I love doing this live is you're all, as you experiment with this stuff, are going to run into problems. I have no need to hide my mistakes. We all make them. So yeah, I love the learning process of trying out new technology, especially somebody who comes from a development background. Like I'm not an operator. I've been an operator. I've been a Shadow IT administrator for pretty much every company I've ever worked except for Rancher Labs and probably Apprenda before that. But when I was out doing consulting and in the enterprise, I had to be an operator to get things done, which means I learned to do it quick and dirty, and sometimes terribly, and sometimes really break some stuff. I try not to do that now. I should be smarter, and also trust people, and hopefully earn their trust as well. But because of that, I have a heart for this Ketchup stuff. Don't mind the elephants upstairs. All 3 elephants are home, and my wife. By elephants, I mean my kids. They are 12, 10, and 6, and they're getting ready to go to a friend's pool today. Let's see. Okay, so bootstrapping Kubernetes. Ketchup does some really cool things to install 2 VMs, and yeah, let's do the TLDR version and see how it goes. This, I bet, will work because we're not doing anything fun yet. Hey, look at that. Okay. Script was unable to write. Oh, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Okay. So now we should have K3s up. We do! Hey, at least that worked. So, catch up. We can install Kubernetes. We can install apps via Helm or YAML. We can join an agent to an existing server. Again, going back to that agent server architecture for catch up, or not catch up for K3s, rest.io. So again, it's in this case server and agent as opposed to control plane, worker, and etcd. Maybe we will. Maybe that'll be one of the things we tackle, is actually using an external database outside of just the built-in etcd stuff that is quick and dirty. So let's note to Windows users. Huh. Interesting. I'm doing this inside of a window. Huh. Maybe we'll do this with Raspberry Pi. So Alex Ellis is awesome. Wrote OpenFast, FastD, and inlets. Very active in the CNCF community and the Kubernetes community. Buy his insider subscription on GitHub. Ooh, I want a hoodie. I may be buying a hoodie, or at least a mug. Yeah, Alex is awesome. The things he works on are awesome. Ketchup is no exception to that rule. So anything he's working on is worth your time to at least look through to see if it's useful to you as a software developer. So let's go ahead and I probably don't even have SSHD running on here. So let's go ahead and create a cloud offering. I don't think I want to go through all that this morning. I'll tell you what. I'm going to tease a little bit. I'm going to pause here. But let me check my calendar real quick. Because the plan was to do this every other week. But if I have the bandwidth, I'm going to do ones on, I'm going to do them every week. And I think what I'm probably going to do is do shorter episodes more often versus longer episodes. Longer episodes every 2 weeks, only because I'm having problems with my wrists. So shorter bouts of developing and typing are better right now. Thank you, Carpet Tunnel. Actually, really, it's my own fault. My ergonomics are not great. It's something I'm working on now with the kids. We just found our school district's going to be 100% virtual, which means more time at my desk. So I'm going to look at my calendar for next week. I love doing the obnoxious sip thing. I don't know why. All right. Yeah, I have this open next week. So, 2 things we're going to do next week for the RanchCast. We're going to dive into ketchup, and actually ketchup with ketchup. Oh, I'm totally using that. That's terrible. Yes, I'm using that's an episode. Ketchup with ketchup, and we're also going to see why my K3s install failed miserably. So I think it's something to do with how my WSL terminals were, working or not working, because I know I've run this on this machine, just not in the last couple of months. So, with that being said, you all have a wonderful week. I will see you. Let's see. What is today's date? It's the 11th. I will see you all on the 18th. We're going to deep dive into installing with ketchup, K3s. And maybe we'll actually grab a Raspberry Pi. I've got various small devices around here that should all be able to run K3s. So I'll grab one of the Raspberry Pis. One of the cool things about my broadcast stuff is I don't need to just show off my computer screen. I can show off a Raspberry Pi screen as well. So we're going to do that. So thank you for watching my miserable failure this morning. And I will see you all in the next episode. Bye now.